Hello, everyone. Hello, 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 hello. Let me tell y'all, I just did a whole video, y'all. I did a whole, I think it was like 19-minute video, basically talking about Facebook and YouTube. You know how you can get paid off of it. And guess what? You guessed it. The video was on private. And I was wondering why nobody wasn't even coming in and viewing or nothing like that. It's like, dang, people not interested in how to make money. But hello, you guys. Welcome back to my channel, All Things Empowerment. I'm your host, Shaneria, and today, as you read by the title, I'm going to tell you about CNAs versus patient care tech. In a lot of states, they are somewhat the same, but I'm going to tell you the difference between the both. Now, as me, I have been a CNA for 18 plus years, off and on. I have worked in several things, had several opportunities, y'all. That's my dog, Bella, making all that noise. Yep, I'm talking about you, Bella. She looked over here. Come here, Bella. Come here, girl. So this is Bella. Say hey, Bella. Say hey, girl. Say hey, Bella. Say hey. Y'all, she making a lot of noise and she don't even want to pay it nobody. She don't like this light. But, okay. So, I have been a CNA for 18 plus years. And I have had several opportunities. And I also have worked as a patient care tech too. So, you guys, let's talk about the difference between those two. Now, I'm not speaking for everybody else. I am in the state of Georgia. So, of course, my information might be different than the next person. So, you guys, I don't think Bella want me to finish this. Bella, no, girl. Take it there. Take it up there. Take it up there, girl. Okay. So, basically, I work as a CNA. I'm able to do vital signs. I'm able to do intake and outtake, chart, take care of the patient, like bathing, feeding, like grooming, taking the patient outside, doing a range of motion. Basically, mostly the same thing as a patient care tech. But in my state, the only difference is a patient care tech can only work in hospital settings. Now, sometimes people have gotten other jobs like working in a doctor's office as a secretary, etc. But based on my experience, that's what we're going to talk about. So first, let's talk about CNA. A CNA is a certified nursing assistant. Yes, you have to have a certification, which I got my certification at a technical college in Athens. So I went to the technical college while I was a senior in high school, completed it in a couple of short months. Right before it was time for me to graduate from high school, I got my certification. Now, after I got my certification and everything, I did like intern at a hospital in a hospital setting, because as you know, you can also get a job as a licensed certified nursing assistant inside of a hospital. We also was trained in a nursing home and a hospital setting. Then my internship part was actually at that actual hospital. And what at the time, that hospital did have a nursing home. So we would maneuver back and forth from hospital and nursing home, you know, getting the experience of a different setting each time. At both facilities, we did do vital signs. Now, we did the vital signs. We made sure the patient ate by giving them the appropriate tray, because each patient have a specific diet. In the nursing home and hospital, these were both the same things. In the hospital, I just had lesser patients than the actual nursing home facility. Now, also as a CNA, you are able to work in like a long-term, short-term care facility, a assisted living facility, and a home health care agency with CNA in the state of Georgia. it's pros and cons to all of them. My favorite place was the assisted living. We didn't have to do too much, and the stuff that we did, the patient, the resident, as you want to call it, inside like a assisted living, because they more like residents. The resident was able to help you to a certain extent, and once they get to a point where they're not able to help you as much or not at all, they will get sent to a long-term care facility where there will be more nurses and more CNAs able to help that patient out with bathing, feeding, grooming. Now, don't get me wrong, in that assisted living, we did assist with bathing. We did not assist with feeding other than passing them out their appropriate trays and diets, and we made sure that those patients knew that it was time to take their medication, and most of them could give their medication sometimes, but it was sometimes staff that were able to give those patients their medication at the assisted living. And I really enjoyed the assisted living. Less pain and pulling and stuff on your back, and having a log roll of patient and stuff. It was just less work, but interesting and still exciting, because you are able to work with older people and they give you so much knowledge, and it's just they bring light to your face and you're excited for helping people. Even in a nursing home and stuff, it's the same way. I would say in the nursing home setting, it was kind of challenging. You had more patients to yourself, and sometimes you had less CNAs, causing you to have more patients. The halls are extremely longer than the assisted living. And plus, like, you had to help them with more stuff like bathing. You had to sometimes have two CNAs to assist with certain patients. You had to use lift machines to get them up and down. You had to have them up before a certain time, because some of them couldn't lie in bed eating, so you had to have them up for every meal. Some patients were bed bound, so you would basically get them up randomly, but most of the time they would eat in the bed, so you had to have enough CNAs to be able to feed those patients that were left on the floor. So you will have to literally feed some patients, especially if they are bed bound. You will have to change all your patients. You have to make sure most all your patients are dry every 2 hours. You have to do rounds every 2 hours. In the nursing home, I didn't really do much back then of vital signs. The nurses and stuff usually had certain ones, and they were able to get those. I was very lucky. But when I went on the rehab side, because the rehab side was different than the long-term side, but it was all together. But the rehab side, I did have to take more vital signs than I did on the long-term care side, because it was only certain ones that needed on that side. But the rehab side, my whole side had to get vital signs. So yes, I did have scheduled vital signs to do. I also had to pass out trays to the ones that were still on the floor that decided not to go eat in the cafeteria. And some days we had to switch up, because we had people that eat in the cafeteria. So some days I would go to the cafeteria and pass out trays there and make sure everybody is eating and got their stuff and able to open their stuff and etc. in the cafeteria. And then some days I will be left on the floor at breakfast and lunch. And sometimes dinner, because sometimes I work third shift, I would have to stay on the floor and pass out trays and then feed the ones that needed to be fed. So yeah, it's like two sides to the nursing home facility. I would say I liked the long-term care side better, because it was more pulling, lifting, and stuff like that with patients on the rehab side, because again, they are only there to get better and then go home, so they can be able to do things and maneuver on their own at home. So rehab was just getting them back in the shape of being able to do stuff. They could have been hurt or had some type of surgery, and they were there just to get better and recover and go home. So the long-term care side was just patients that didn't have people at home to take care of them, or they necessarily didn't even have a home to go to, so their family put them in a nursing home, because sometimes, you know, by them having family and stuff, they didn't have much time to take care of their parent, auntie, uncle, etc. So they would place them in a nursing home where they can get 24-hour care. I say the hospital setting as a CNA was a lot relaxing too. Now that would be the second facility that I liked it. After this assisted living, it was the hospital, because the hospital I didn't have too many patients. I would do vital signs. I would do blood sugars. I would do intake, outtake chart. I randomly had that many patients that I had to do total care to, but I did have patients that I had to do total care to by me working in neuroscience. That floor was the most hardest floor, you guys. So that floor I would have more like kind of like long-term patients, but not as much as I would at the nursing home. And you know, those group of people was, some of them would stay a little lengthy, but some of them would go home quickly. So the hospital was pretty good. The most patients I had at the hospital were like 15 at the most. Before like the other company, before the other company took over, I had maybe like 10 to myself. But then when the other company took over, I had 15. And then very random, it would be like lack of a help, another CNA, which I would get one side and I would have 15 patients, and that other CNA would get the other side and have 15 patients. But when it was just one of us, the nurses did like a lot of their vital signs and a lot of you know, changing or turning their patients on their own, which left me not to feel like I was overwhelmed. So that was a good thing. Only random, you will get certain nurses that don't want to help out, don't want to do vital signs, just don't want to do nothing, knowing it's just you. But that's very random. But for the most part that I worked at the facility, the nurses were blessings. They were good. If I did my work, they came in, did their part, we all worked together, and we went home. Now let's get to the patient care tech part. The patient care tech part, I was able to work in like a nursing home, assisted living, blah blah blah, because I did have my CNA before my patient care tech. But you not in the state of Georgia, you don't necessarily have to have your patient care tech certification or your CNA to become a patient care tech or a unit secretary slash patient care tech at the hospitals. Now, it's very minimum or little thing that you can get into as a patient care technician. As in CNA, you got a lot of different options, but as a patient care tech, I was only really able, as a patient care tech, be able to get into the hospital setting. But the hospital setting wasn't bad at all. Of course, you did have to do blood sugars. I mean, you already was doing vital signs. You already do range of motion. You already put on the EKG machines and monitoring the patient and charting. The only thing is you just had checking blood sugars included. And they are willing to train you on EKG in the hospital, as in like nursing homes and stuff don't train you and that stuff, and you don't do blood sugars at nursing homes. Well, the nursing homes I worked in the state of Georgia, but it might be all the nursing homes in Georgia. But as a patient care tech, I worked at a couple of hospitals, and they all did the same thing. One hospital, I worked in the rehab part of the hospital as a patient care tech. That one, I had a lot of bed-bound people because they were just getting out of surgery, just getting procedures done, and they were coming to our floor basically to get the rehab, just like the nursing home was when I was as a CNA. Just like the rehab part of the nursing home was, that was exactly what that floor was at the hospital. And a lot of times, if another floor is short to keep it staffed, and we were fully staffed with our patient care techs on the rehab floor. By us not having that many beds, I think we had like 18 rooms or something like that, and maybe like 3 techs, sometimes 2. If all the rooms were full, we had 3 techs, so it was easy, y'all. Like, I would have like maybe 6 patients when we had 3 techs. But it wasn't that bad, because if we even had 2, both of the techs would work together. We would do our vital signs together. We would do our blood sugars together. We was knocking everything out together on that rehab unit. So I liked the rehab unit too. So it was very easy, y'all. Like, I liked it. I liked it working as a patient care tech better. And plus I got paid more, and plus I got trained being able to do more stuff. So you guys, if you guys are specifically thinking about being a CNA or a patient care tech, just keep in mind that CNAs are able to get in certain facilities, and patient care techs are limited, but they are able to get in certain stuff. And to me, if I could choose this one or this one, even though I had both, I would say I would choose the patient care tech a little, because I didn't have to deal with so many patients. Like, as a CNA, I had to deal with like 20, sometimes more than 20 patients on my own. Depends on if we were really short. So, you guys, I hope this kind of helped you out with like the difference between a CNA and a patient care tech, like which one you prefer over this one. I hope this kind of helped you a little bit, and I will be coming with more tips and stuff on CNA, patient care tech, because of course I did it for 18 plus years, so I would know. But yeah, you guys, if you like this type of content also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below, that way I can know and keep uploading these type of videos too. And check out my other video. I think I'm gonna put it in the card or whatever. But I'm gonna put it in the card, so you can click on that video, and it'll tell you how I got terminated from my patient care tech job, y'all. I was so sad, but you know, life goes on, and you find lots of more opportunity. And just because you had one opportunity, that does not mean to stop there. That means to keep on going until you get exactly where you want to get, because without God and work, your dreams are definitely dead. You guys, thanks for watching All Things Empowerment. I'm your host, Shaneria. Peace.